Going to be going over the census report with notes. Now, this is a report that's printed from Seaboard that contains information about patients and is given to the dietitian with their specific patients. So as an intern, you may be seeing this document. As I said, typically it's printed, but we're going to use a digital copy for the purpose of this video, but they should look exactly the same. So what dietitians may use this for is to ensure that any messages that they sent through Meditech have been interpreted and implemented correctly by the diet clerks. They can verify the diet orders. They can look at how long a patient has been NPO for or how long they've been in the hospital. So this is different types of information that may impact your nutrition care plans and is good to keep an eye on things. So as we go through each patient, we'll learn a little bit more about these areas and also different things to look for. So we have our first patient here. We see our room and bed number would be this first section here. We have the name, MRN number, gender, age. We also see something listed out under protocol here, no RSC. So this means no room service choice. So as we go through this patient, we may see why that's there, but essentially that means that this patient will not have a nutrition associate come around with a tablet to take menu selections. We see the admit date here, and like I said, this is good to note so we get an idea of how long the patient has been in hospital for. Going down, we have the diet order here. So we see that Rachel Anderson is on a mildly thick fluid diet with pureed foods. Hamilton General here indicating the site diet. And then we have this effective date. So what this essentially means is the date at which any part of this diet order was implemented. So it could be that the patient was on regular fluids and then on September 8th, they were downgraded to a thick fluid. It could be that the puree was added. It could be that they were NPO first. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this is when they started eating, but it's when this exact combination of diet was put in place. Moving down here, we have the food preference notes, and these are the same notes that we looked at in the card file. So anytime changes are made within the card file, there will be a note made and can be reviewed in this report. So as we can see on September 8th, as per intern Sabrina, thick instant breakfast was requested at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that was likely implemented into the card file. We also have a note here that says advanced menus. So this means that the patient is giving a week's worth of menus to make selections. Perhaps the patient is doing this on their own, or they have a family member that can only come in once a week to do menus. So like I said before, tablet selections will not be taken and daily menus are not provided. Moving on to our next patient, we've got some similar information up here. We've got our admit date. We see that this patient is actually on TPN, and that was effective September 8th. But when we look down at the notes, we see that the ward has requested a strawberry glucerna at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, this was requested on September 6th, so it's possible that this patient was recently put on TPN and now would no longer receive the strawberry glucerna. If that was still required, a diet order that can enable food would need to be requested in order for them to receive that item. On to our next patient here. Again, same information. We see that no room service choice again, so I wonder why this patient has that. We'll take a look. So our admit date, we've got a date effective of September 8th. This patient is on a low insoluble fiber diet. We have comp listed here. So comp is often added to diet orders when not too many food items are available and can help liberalize the diet. Let's look at our notes down here. So on September 8th, as per intern Sabrina, no foods on low insoluble fiber comp diet, except at breakfast they're getting a lime Greek yogurt, a boiled egg, salt and pepper. Lunch, mashed potatoes, side gravy, salt, pepper, chocolate Ensure Max, and a peach boost. At dinner, vanilla activity yogurt, Ensure pudding, and a vanilla Ensure compact. So also on the tray note, this just indicates that on the tray ticket, there'll be a service note that indicates that this amount of food has been okayed, as it is slightly less than what would typically be offered, but this was requested by the intern. So this is a good time to make sure that your requests have been put in correctly. So if these notes are done correctly, they should reflect exactly what you ordered. Moving down to our next patient, we see that this patient is NPO, which means they're not receiving any food. So this started on September 8th. When we go down to look at the notes, it looks like on September 7th, as per intern Sabrina, 6 complete at 60 mils every 12 hours and 2 teaspoons of salt were ordered. So it looks to me like this patient was tube fed and now they're NPO, so they will not be receiving this anymore. Our next patient here, we see that she is on a no concentrated sugar diabetic diet. And we have some notes down here. So September 8th, as per intern Sabrina, high protein oatmeal at breakfast was requested. And we see SUPs in brackets here. So what SUPs means is that this item was put in the supplements folder. Now the supplement folder is used to override any diet or allergy orders. This means that any non-compliant items in accordance with those, either the diet or the allergy, will be printed on the ticket. So you have to be really careful and definitely ask a dietitian or a dietetic assistant before using this function. So high protein oatmeal. Now that is a restricted item, so it is reserved for a certain diet, so it is reserved for a high protein diet. So if this was just put into preferences and there was no high protein diet ordered, this would not print on a ticket. So this was put into supplements and a note was made that this was okayed on a non-high protein diet as the cereal. We have another example of this below, so the Magic Cup. Magic Cups are typically not compliant on a no concentrated sugar diabetic diet. So again, it was added to supplements and there was a note made that it was okayed on an NCS diet as dessert. We have another example for dinner, apples and protein at dinner into supplements, but this is for a little bit of a different reason. So on a no concentrated sugar diet, only one dessert is allowed. So if I want something to be printed as a second dessert, that would need to go in supplements. So we can see here, okay on NCS and a second dessert on NCS. Another reason why we might want to do supplements is if there is a limit on the number of items a patient can receive. So perhaps on creamers, there is a limit. So 6 creamers were ordered, they were put into supplements, and it was okayed as multiples. There was also 2 decaf coffees added at dinner. Scrolling down to our next patient, we have a tube feed. If you remember before, our other tube feed patient was NPO and not receiving their feed anymore. But this patient, we have tube feed indicated here, and then in the notes, as per the ward, was the formula and the rate that is required. So that shows some examples of some concepts you might come across when reviewing your census report with notes.